All right. Well, I hope that didn't sound as crap as it did in my headphones just now, but I don't know why. We're going to check and see that we are, in fact, live. All right. Looks good on X. And it looks good on YouTube. So that looks good. All right. I have with me Timothy Robare, and I'm going to just do a quick introduction, Mr. Spider Man here. Uh, Timothy grew up in Grand Isle, Vermont. He went to the University of Plattsburgh to get a degree in writing arts. Since then, he's traveled to 49 states. I'm going to absolutely have to ask which is the 50th that he is missing. And then 60 countries. He mostly writes poetry and fantasy, such as his Tales of Battle series, which is what we are, in fact, talking about today. In his spare time, he enjoys basketball, tennis, soccer, climbing, mountaineering, and dancing. And apparently cosplay. So, welcome, Timothy. I'm going to give you a chance to pitch this. This is your third book in your Tales of Battle series, so I want to give you a chance to let people know why they should read that as well as your others if they have not already.
Okay. Basically, book 3 is the big war that's been looming stemming from book 1 and especially from book 2. Book 2 was a big setup for the big war coming, where the kingdoms basically split behind the emperor, and elemental magic becomes a much, not necessarily a larger role, but there's a lot more elemental influence, especially with my fox character Jacama. So it's pretty fun. And then book 3 also has a little more romance than the other books, because finally Jacama and Calicina, which is the other fox, are finally seeing if they can actually meet eye to eye after a lot of back and forth. A lot of death, because that takes place in my series in general. A lot of battle, but also a lot of hopefully what people that have read book 1 and book 2 have been waiting for, which is a lot of these characters from different sides of the world coming together and picking one side or the other and seeing where they land. And the cover with the wolf and the bear, they're both kings and they were best friends, and then that kind of falls apart in book 2 specifically, and book 3 they face off. So I'll leave that up in the air for anybody.
All right. We got some people. We got chat people. Hey, Russell. All right. Awesome. So, yes, again, what is the 50th state that you have not yet visited?
Arkansas. And I actually was going to do it.
Arkansas. I was like, all right, it's got to be like Hawaii or Alaska, right? Like, no, Arkansas.
Yeah, I was actually supposed to visit when I moved to Colorado from South Carolina, but it was like 12 hours out of my way, and me and my dog were doing 13 states and hiking in each one and cross country. And I was like, I don't really want to add like the 3 extra days for Arkansas, which now I regret, because now it's just a random state that I live on the other side of the country from. So
yeah, that makes it challenging.
Well, especially because the flight there is like almost as much of the flight to Japan for me. So like flying to
believe
Arkansas,
it because I don't even know. Like, I assume Arkansas has an airport. Like, okay, whatever. I'm going to move on. So, all right. So you are releasing. It is actually, I would say, it is out now. Probably if you are in Australia, but as of tomorrow, your book release is officially for this third. Is this the final book in your series, or are you planning more?
this is kind of like the tie-up, but then I wrote book 4, which is coming, but it doesn't really play off of this storyline. But then I wrote a book 5. It was supposed to be a standalone, and then book 5 actually brings all the book 4 characters and the characters that aren't dead from book 3 together for one last big adventure in battle and looming threat that is much more dire than any of the others before, because I ended up missing my characters. I wrote another novel and ended up really missing the characters from book 3 and was like, no, I want to do one more thing with them. So ended up doing book 5, which I have to edit. And book 4 is actually ready for my editors, but they have my Ashes and Embers, my Dragon book series that they're going through right now. So I don't want to throw all my books at them at once.
Yeah, I can believe it. So that kind of gets me into I don't know when you released your first one. So I'm curious as far as like, you have so many done now. Are you a fast prolific writer, or are you just have you accumulated them over time and then you're just trying to get them out when you can? I'm curious as far as how that came together.
Definitely accumulated them. I mean, book one was done for a while before I put it out. Book two, I had already started on. And then from there, I just kind of started. I do write kind of fast, which has its ups and downs because I have fat fingers and a lot of typos. Um, and my editors catch these little things. I'm like, oh, crap. But I just have a really big backlog now. And I have the last couple of years I've been writing really fast because I went from full-time teaching to subbing. And I won't lie, while I'm subbing, I write my novels. Um, so I do get paid to write, but they don't know that they're paying me for it. So that's kind of helped a lot. But I do just have a big backlog. It's not like I'm out here writing a novel in like a 2-month period.
Yeah, so don't worry. It's all about the time that you can dedicate to it for sure. Cool. So then this one is it sounds like we have the first two. This is the third big battle for this, and then you're kind of pivoting to a different set of characters, but bringing them back in a fifth. So uh, I'm interested. Yeah, thanks. I see the chats before you do. They pop up here, and then I share them. But I'm curious. So for this series, you mentioned that you missed your characters and you wanted to bring them back when you were coming up with the idea for that fifth book. But did you have an idea for where you were going with this when you conceived the idea? Are you more of a plotter or a pantser type of person?
Definitely a pantser. For book five, I did have the idea with all the elemental magic and the animals and everything. And then from my prologue that some people probably read and some people did not because it's a prologue, it brings out dragons and phoenixes and everything. So I thought it'd be really cool to have like the embodiment of a phoenix, which is I never incorporated it in the first 3 books. And I was like, well, book five, what else can I do to make this kind of wild and crazy and make a reason for characters from a standalone book and then from my other 3 books all come together with all the magic. So that's true. I do love GR. But I am a super pantser. At least for book three, I had some kind of idea of what I wanted, sort of. And then for book four, I had one very minute detail I wanted that kind of played the whole novel. And then book five, I had a storyline, and then everything else I just let fall in. So I wouldn't say I'm a complete pantser, and I'm trying to be better about it. I am trying to plot for my Ash and Ember series. I did try to plot a little bit, which was like 5 sentences, but more than I ever have before. So
I mean, that's something. All right. So you just kind of sit down and you just get to writing. Where do you start? So do you start with like just coming up with a character, a world, like what is the genesis of an idea for you for writing?
I think for those that have read my books, maybe they'd be able to say it, but I think I'm very character driven. I think I always have
Okay.
been. I've gotten a lot more into world building now, especially after book one, which I do plot my maps first now. I do make my maps first because making a map after you write a book is really awful. I discovered with book one, making the map and going back through book one and trying to put everything on the map where it made sense was really, really awful for me. Really did not enjoy it and really time consuming. So that is one area I do plot, but I do generally just begin with a character and what they want. And then everything kind of falls in line from there.
The
I will
map is
say,
interesting because sorry, I,
no,
I I do the map as well. Like I had a map before I actually, and I would like, okay, this is X number of days, and then like I'd finger plot like the space to plot the cities while
I still don't even know if the
just
days make sense. I try not to incorporate days in my writing. I respect people that do. I try to, and then I'm looking at my map and I'm like, I don't even know the size of my own map. I look at it and I'm like, I don't really know your size. I don't know how many days it would take to get from here to here. So like,
we're just going with it.
yeah, I mean, I know it's fantasy, so you can make it up, but I read, some of the big name authors, and I'm like, wow, like I'm reading Wheel of Time, and I'm like, wow, you really like it takes this long. Granted, he has portals and stuff, so I don't actually know how long it takes anymore. But it's like, oh, you can go from here to here and here to here. And I'm just like, yeah, they went from this way and they took this trajectory. It was going that way.
Time went by. There was time that passed.
Yep, exactly.
I think that's safer. That's definitely a safer approach. You get the critics that are like, huh, like you said they crossed the mountain in X days and I'm going to critique you for that. It's like, oh, come on.
That's kind of my biggest fear because I remember going to like a Comic Con and they were like, everybody's all on J.K. Rowling for her money, her finances and stuff, and I heard people like hating on a few other things, and I was like, if I do specific distances, someone's gonna be like, well, that distance doesn't make sense compared to this distance based on your map, and then it's like, well, okay, you might be right. So
Yeah, and then yeah, the mode of travel that would definitely that mixes things up too because it's like on foot versus on a horse versus on a
well, that's
on
the
the
hardest
back of a dragon.
I'd say that's the hardest part about the new series. It's like I don't know how fast a dragon flies because obviously they're not real. So it's like I'm constantly just like, oh yeah, they went from here to here, and it was like pretty fast because it's a dragon and they're high and he's big.
He's big and he goes straight. Yeah, that's funny. Okay, so you're a pantser. You're working on like you follow threads as they come together. Do you find that you have to go back? So I know a lot of people that kind of have that uh, exploratory journey style of writing end up feeling like after they get the first draft, they have to go back and kind of like weave in the hints and the parts. Did you find you have to do that with your work?
I found as far as world building goes that I really missed out on some of that in book one because I pantsed it and I didn't know that I was building a series at the time. I was literally working at a gas station writing a book in a notebook at midnight. So I was like, well, I had no idea what it was really going, and I started it right after college. So it was like that weird interim part of my life. And I do realize now that trying to the map, but also trying to plot at least specifics of like cities or whatever that draw them out and that you can kind of bank on as world building
Mm-hmm.
is important. And I do, from feedback and from what I know, I ended up having to put more world building into book two. So some people are like, oh, it's a different flow. It's a different, not a different style, but it's a different style of book almost because book one is so action and character based. And then book two, I had to really build upon the world that I had already built a little more that I didn't get to in book one. So I do think it set me up for some difficulty there and I wish in university I took a world building class, which is weird as a writing arts, fiction major that was never an option.
Did they just not have that class, or did you just not take it?
No, they didn't have it. I wish they had it. I would
Yeah,
definitely
that's an interesting. Yeah, it's interesting that they wouldn't.
I know because world building is so essential to fantasy and stuff and to fiction in general. So it's like it would have been helpful, and I kind of wish that I knew that. And at that point in most of college was reading some King Arthur and
Mhm.
stuff like that, but a lot of it was Shakespeare and Uncle Tom's Cabin and Poe and all this stuff. So it wasn't really a lot of world building at that point. So my going leading up to book one was a lot of old American literature and then some European literature, but it wasn't a lot of world building fantasy, which I feel like between that and not having the class specifically, I was not overly prepared for that segment.
Russell has a question.
Mm.
New writer spent on world building.
Oh, that's a hard question because I feel like it's so world based. I would say just have specifics personally. I would say don't spend a lot of time world building, but have specifics that help tie people into your world. Like a building, like you think of the seven wonders of the ancient world. Like that's an easy way to look at it. Like what is really big things that can grab a reader and that you can build on that aren't going to take a lot of time.
Yeah, and I read something that was like some one piece of world building that goes undone is holidays or like rituals. Like we lack a lot of like writers tend to forget that that's a thing. Do you have any holidays or anything in yours, or did you forget it too?
I actually started out with a holiday in my new series in the Ashes and Ember series. I don't think I've done many holidays in Tales of Battle just because it doesn't, it's a lot of gore and action. and
Yeah.
eventually, I guess, would have been good for holidays. But I also, well, I guess I do the tournament of kings. So all the kings, it's like a holiday basically. They all migrate to this part of the
Yeah.
map, and they have like this big jousting and sword tournament. So it's kind of a holiday because it's yearly and everything. But other than that, I did not. And I have heard that as well, especially lately, which is interesting actually.
Things make the circuit. You start to see something, and then it gets into your head.
Yeah, but I also feel like making up a holiday, I mean, because I tried to do it, is also insanely difficult. Especially as an American. I feel like Europeans and stuff, they have all these like really in Central Asians and everything, they have all these like really deeply ingrained holidays where a lot of ours are like Hallmark card holidays. So
Yeah. Go to the store and buy your designated candy.
exactly.
And that's your responsibility. Or bank holidays that I never get off work. Everybody else, gets these bank holidays, and I get nothing. All right, so that's interesting. So as you were developing this series, you got to this third book. How long did it take you to get this book drafted?
Not very long. It's hard to remember exactly, but it wasn't very long because this one I kind of had more of an idea where it was going.
Mhm.
I kind of had an idea, hey, I brought all these characters here, all these characters are here, and this is kind of the setup. So I feel like it was pretty fluid. I mean, the back and forth with the editors took the longest because they were like, this part sucks, doesn't make sense. This part's choppy, go back. Because I do jump around a bit because I have a big cast. And in my
Mhm.
head, it makes sense to me. Obviously, as the author, I'm like, yeah, I know who's doing this. I'm not jumping around. But then
But as a
obviously,
reader, yeah.
yeah, they're like, it's a lot of head hopping and jumping around. So that was definitely a lot. The drafting wasn't too bad. The drafting in book 5 is worse because I forgot characters that died in book 3 that my editors brought to
Oops.
my attention. Yeah, and they were like, dead, and I was like, okay. But book
I
3
guess I
was
gotta fix that.
quickest. Yeah, but book 3 was probably my quickest. Honestly, the biggest fixer was the romantic stuff. One of my editors really wanted me to make the Fox's romance more like believable and add more to it. So definitely the writing went quick, the editing went slow.
So you mentioned that the first book was a lot of action, and then you did a little more world building in the second. This obviously is culminating into some sort of final battle or coming together type of thing. Do you find that you're a writer that really enjoys writing that action type of thing? You like to include that in your books?
I I did at the time. I've actually grown away from it a little bit, I think. I think at first I really wanted these very precise, detailed, not flowery prose, just like very standard, like, hey, this is happening, kind of like you'd watch it. I guess kind of like a
Hmm.
screenwriter would do it. That was my first
Yeah.
process because I had read books with like really flowery pro battle scenes that I did like, but I kept getting lost in them because I was like, now I don't know what action is happening. Because the pros were really nice, but I couldn't comprehend where they were going sometimes.
Yeah.
So I went into it really wanting like this very basic style. Hey, this guy's doing this. This is what's happening. Chop them up style, especially at first. It's grown from there. I've actually grown a little bit away from the action recently and been more like precise. Been just like very quick battle scenes after that. I think book 3 compared to book 1, the battle scenes are more expansive. There's a lot more going on, but they're not as long necessarily or as but there is a lot of components that go into them. So I try to show a lot of the characters' battle prowess and I try to kind of give them all a moment to shine, whether they're getting killed or not. I try to give them all like their moments in battle. So they are in this series, they're kind of lengthy in that way.
Interesting. So yeah, it's more figuring out. So you've changed or developed more about how you wanted to present the battles, and this one has probably more just for the sake of having a bigger cast and trying to weave all in the points.
Yeah, it
Um,
actually was kind of sad because my editor for my Ashes and Embers books, she went through book 1 and she was like, "Oh, I like these battles more. They're very precise and they're not as crazy as your Tales of Battle ones." And I'm like, "Oh." It's like,
Shoot.
well, yeah, I was like, "That's nice," but also, damn.
I mean, it's a different animal, right? What do you find that you like to? I'm gonna go with two-part question. What do you find easiest for you to kind of write and get out there in terms of like a, again, battle versus a character scene versus travel or conversation, whatever, dialogue, versus the most difficult or challenging that's really had made you have to push to try and figure out how to present it?
I think dialogue has always been the easiest, and maybe that's just because in university, like the stories and plays and everything I wrote, my that's all the teachers really brought up was like, they're like, "Oh, your dialogue is really, really good," and I feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Although some people apparently think my dialogue is cheesy and cheeky, but that's also okay because I don't mind cheesy, cheeky dialogue. I'm okay with it. Um, I do find that the easiest and most fluid. Action, I'm kind of in the middle of now because I realize that people are very particular about action. I mean, some readers really want a very specific type of action. Some want a very different style of action. Some want the really purple prose. Some want the opposite, and some want in the middle. So I think action's really hard to convey because it's really up to the reader. Um, Whereas dialogue, at least, is more standardized almost, I would say. I mean, I read books like C.C. Humphreys, he like fences and everything. His sword fighting dialogue is some of the best I've ever read because he has so much experience in it. I don't go out and sword fight on the daily basis as much as I wish I did. Um, so I am lacking in that sometimes. Um, but I think traveling and writing in the world building of the traveling and doing it in a way that's not as boring as the Wheel of Time. No offense to Robert Jordan, because I like it, but sometimes his traveling and is so dense that I just thrown off. I think that's probably the hardest part is traveling the distances and times, but also using the world building in that time and doing it in a way that the reader doesn't want to slam the book and throw it.
Yeah, that can be. It's like the transitional periods between like some event versus another event to get them there effectively can be definitely challenging. That you don't want to lose people. Okay, so you mentioned that this new book has a bit more of the romance. You mentioned that your editor pushed you to go back and develop that more. I'm curious about, you know, have you written much romantic plot lines, or what was that like?
Well, it's actually funny because before this book, me and my one of my editors, we co-wrote like a smutty. I thought it was romance, but I guess romance is very particular. So it's like a contemporary woman's journey. I don't know, something. I forget how it's classified. We co-wrote that, which was a strange adventure for me, especially like sex scenes and everything. So I do have a little bit in that way. And actually, when I first started writing, I was really into writing romance because I was really big into Nicholas Sparks and all that stuff at that time. But I didn't really know. I don't really love reading romance that much. I don't mind it as like a subplot, but I don't really love it as like a main plot. And I didn't know where it would really fit in. I kind of like set it up to where it was possible, but I didn't know how much I would really give into it. And I think my editor actually did a really good job. Her opinions and her pushing me to like get into it, I think, really pushing me to get into it and flush it out. I actually think it's really beneficial, especially going into book five, where that romance is actually really important in a lot of that story. So it was a fun adventure, and I think it also expanded how I viewed writing romance, maybe, or how essential it can be, and pieces that I just was blatantly not paying attention to. So I think it was super beneficial, very interesting, and I'm also very thankful that I have two editors, one that focuses on that and one that doesn't really care about the romantic plot because it gives me a bit of wiggle room.
Excellent. So you mentioned, that you're. I guess I'm hearing a lot that you read a lot. So it sounds like that's been a big part of your development as an author. I'm sure is influencing from different reading. So do you in fact read a lot? And then, how has that influenced your own outputs?
I definitely read quite a bit. I mean, it doesn't feel like it sometimes because I'm in the Wheel of Time series, so sometimes it feels like I haven't moved very much in reading at all. I go back and forth between some nonfiction reads and mostly fantasy, like A Song of Ice and Fire and Wheel of Time and Arc of Sight. After I'm done Wheel of Time, I'm gonna hop into a lot of the indies when I finally have time away from Robert Jordan. It's definitely impacted my writing. I mean, my editors and even some of my friends that beta read or whatever, they're like, "Oh, your writing has actually come a long way." Because like I said, when I was writing book one, I was reading all American lit and everything, and stuff that had no impact, and a lot of historical fiction as well, which didn't really have impact on my fantasy concept as much as I wanted it to. Other than that, Redwall. So I would say, hopefully, people that have read books one and two, and then when they come into three, they'll be like, "Oh, this is quite a bit more polished," or the writing is a little more fluid, which I think everybody hopes as the further they publish, the more books they publish, they hope that readers can actually see, like, hey, this one's better. Um,
Yeah.
if I don't get that response, then I'll probably be a little bit worried. But book one, I know has some issues with the writing because it was really long and dense in years and back and forth and a lot of. I mean, I had like 18 beta readers, so I just kept changing the book all over the place. And between then and now, I've read, the whole A Song of Ice and Fire series, a ton of Neil Schusterman, 8 books of Wheel of Time, and I do think it's changed my outlook and at least how I go into writing now a little more, and kind of what I want to write versus what I don't. Like I said, Robert Jordan's his super detail of traveling. Like, yeah, sometimes it's cool for like a paragraph, and then 10 paragraphs later, when he's still talking about the trees, that's something I would never want to write because I don't even know if I could write 8 paragraphs about trees like he does. Or once again, just because I'm reading it, Robert Jordan is known for writing pretty terrible female characters. I don't have tons of female characters, but the ones I do have, I don't want to write like that, hopefully. So it's like a lot of learning and reading different styles of fantasy has really helped me, I think, flesh out what I want in the future of my books.
Yeah, that makes sense. I found that the reading. I didn't read a lot of nonfiction prior to starting to write, so it's been interesting as I read more. You definitely get ideas from other authors. To your point of things that you like or don't like, it helps you kind of hone an understanding of preference there as well, as far as like who do you want to be. Um, so you're reflecting that you feel like you've grown as the series has gone on, that you've gotten better with your writing. How would you describe your you mentioned not liking all the purple prose about like trees and stuff, like, so how do you approach like what you're delivering and your style of prose?
I think I don't want to call it basic prose, but I mean, as a teacher that teaches 8th grade English, I know the reading comprehension in the US, at least specifically. I read articles about it all the time. We're forced to talk about it all the time. And as much as I would love to, I write poetry as much, and my editor's like, why don't you use your poetic prose in your book? And to me, they're very separate, and I want them to be separate. I
Yeah.
want my books to be able to, like, Redwall is very brutal. There's a lot to it, but it's very readable. I was reading it in 3rd grade, 4th grade. I want people, a varying audience, to be able to read my book and being able to grasp it, whether their reading comprehension is semi low or whether it's high. So it's not that I can't do like these really flowery prose. I just don't really want to. And not that I don't admire them. I do. I've read books with them. But a lot of times, me and Russell have actually talked about this. I've told him a lot of the times when I'm reading these flowery prose, they're nice in the moment, but I forget everything that happens. I'm like, oh, that was really beautiful. But like, actually, what just happened? Like they're describing all this stuff for 20 sentences. And it's really nice and it sounds really good off the tongue, but I don't actually know anything that just happened in that paragraph sometimes. So I didn't want to do it like that. I wanted to do it where a wide audience would really be able to come into it, which I've realized with some of my reviews is a downfall because some people view that as just bad writing. Whereas my aspect of it was I want I just want people to be able to read it. Which has its upside and its downside, as I've learned. But I mean, a lot of my eighth graders can't read above a third grade level even. So if I'm writing like Shakespeare, it's going to be a very niche, small market.
Yeah, that I relate to this because I shoot for accessibility as well. I think it's important to have those bridges. Like, cool, eventually you want to get to like the Shakespeare level, but in order to get there, you need interesting stories that you can comprehend. And I think that it's like you can deal with complex issues like death and war and conflict and all this stuff in a way that is expressed in a readable manner for a more average audience. Yeah. So I personally appreciate that. I think that's a good thing to strive for because we need those bridges.
Thanks. I will admit I could add a little bit more flowery in the midst of things, um, every now and then. But I really just like get so I think sometimes just so ingrained in the and being part Native American, like telling is very important for like stories. Everything is like telling, you tell, you tell, you tell. So the whole now versus like showing versus telling thing is a little bit wild to me because I was always raised and always learned like, hey, you tell the story. The person telling you is like they're the teller, and you're just taking it all in. Um, so that's even been an interesting journey, just getting the difference in that. That's interesting. I mean, like you said, I would love to do maybe in the future when I get all these books out that I'm working on already. Maybe I'll work on a different series that I will up my prose and it will be for like a more elevated audience and everything. But when I went into it, I really just looked at Redwall and I was like, man, I just want to do something like that, where it's like, I mean, looking back at what we view YA now, Redwall is definitely not YA to me. After I've read it again, I'm like, oh, this is not YA. Like I was reading this in third grade about these like mice stabbing each other to death and everything. But it was such like an important part of my life that I was like, yeah, why not write a book where these giant animals stab each other to death in a different manner and have anybody be able to read it? Which, like I said, has its ups and its downs, and I'll take the punches where I had to take them because
You actually you got into my next question, which was going to be what was the inspiration for like the anthropomorphized animal as like the basis of your characters versus humans or elves or dwarves or like what we see a lot.
oh yeah, well, Redwall for sure. Um, and then kind of mixing with Game of Thrones, I was like, oh man, the violence of Game of Thrones is just intense. And then also growing up on a farm. I mean, I grew up where I grew up. It's a lot more horses and cows and pigs and chickens than there are people. So I think animals were just always a big part of my life. And then for anybody who plays Tekken, I always used King, which is like he's got like a jaguar head or whatever. Um, so just like a lot of random little influences, I think, throughout my childhood and growing up that I was like, this is kind of what I want to do. And then I was just working at the gas station, and then I was like, I like foxes, and that's just how it started.
It's pretty fun.
And we did do an animal, I forget what it was called. There was a course. We wrote short stories, and it was all about animals. And the final was writing a short story, and then we published a book actually, through a Canadian company with all of our short stories combined. And I think that maybe that even played a role too, because writing about a tiger and having it have a character and a storyline was also super fun.
Do you find that so versus like having a human or some other like fantasy race, do you like lean into like a tiger, like what a personality of a tiger versus like a fox versus like in the writing?
Not, I mean, the deer are like kind of specific in my book, and the tigers are very specific.
Mhm.
Everyone else is kind of up to their own. I mean, most of the foxes, for people that have read book one, they know have been killed, which is a big part of book one. But some of the animals, which is this was a complaint by a reader, is some of the animals aren't very specific.
Mhm.
I didn't really want them to be because it's a very varied world. I mean, I do have elves in my world that are very specific. Um, Humans kind of fluctuate in and out of my world a little bit. They're not a big role, but really just the deer, the tigers, those are the ones that are very their own, and everybody else is kind of blends in almost. They just kind of are who they are for the most part. And then some of the animals there aren't even very many of. So very dependent in that regard. I do think it would have been cool if I did kind of have all their personalities based off of animals, but it wouldn't have really worked for the storyline I was going for.
Yeah. Makes sense. So you have book 4. So this one is getting released tomorrow. You have book 4 with your editors. What do you think the timeline is for these projects to get this series completed?
Well, book 5 will come out sometime next year because book 1 of Ashes and Embers, I'm hoping to be done and have it releasing like in mid-April. And then book 4 of Tales of Battle, I'm hoping October, November.
Mhm.
And then book 2 of Ashes and Embers is also done. It needs to be edited. So,
You got a big old backlog just sitting there.
yeah, I have a Tales of Battle prequel too that needs to be. I actually really need to edit that a lot because I got done that a long time ago. Then I have another book that needs to be edited. So I have a lot of stuff that needs to be edited that's going to come out in the next couple of years. So I'm hoping that this one, book 1 of Ashes and Embers, my next poetry book, which is Ballads by Bears, and then Tales of Battle book 4 will all come out this year.
It's a lot. That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I kind of going into this year, I was kind of like, it's make or break. This year, I'm like doing it all. It's going to go well, or I'm going to delete my social media and run away forever.
Well, that kind of gets me into more of a question around process evolution. So you mentioned when you released your first book, you had like 18 beta readers, and you were like bouncing around. It sounds like you've moved more towards like just trusting an editorial team to be able to work with versus that kind of approach. So I'm curious, do you still use beta readers, or do you just mostly go with the editor? And then do you have ARC readers? Like, what does your release cycle look like as far as like getting from draft to actually out into the world?
Sometimes now I do 1 or 2 betas. I kind of realized people are going to take this bad, but I don't really care. I realized that betas are kind of useless because they all have differing opinions. So it's like asking a reader, what do you think of this? And then they give you a total different opinion. Some of them gave me very useless feedback. Some of them gave me feedback. And then I got another beta reader that gave me the opposite. So I was like, well, now I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And it became a giant mess and really kind of like messed with my head, I think, and messed with my storyline sometimes because I kept going back and forth. And I'm a person that like my audiobook, I was like, I'm only doing 3 and then I'm picking one of the 3 because if past that, too many options, I'm going to like drive myself nuts. ARC readers I've never done because I'm very untrusting with my manuscripts. I've just seen too many bad things happen. For book 1 of Ashes and Embers, I have asked like 6 people I trust between Twitter and Threads to ARC it, but I just really don't trust people.
Yeah.
With my work, I just never have. I don't know, maybe I'm paranoid. I'm like a drug dealer, but with my books. So I have never. I admire people that do it, and I've seen. I just ARC read for a girl. She has like 200 reviews already, and her book comes out in like a couple days or something.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And she even sent me a hard copy for an ARC, which is wild. I know. I was like, whoa, it's a hardback. So I think it's cool, and I know that it definitely works for people. But also, when you do a wide ARC, I've also seen the opposite work where people get 1 and 2 star bombed because they're getting readers that don't like that kind of book. They're just doing it to get a free book.
Yeah.
So I'm nervous about that. I'm untrusting, and my editors are great. One's an older dude, one's a middle aged woman. Where now I know them very personally. They have no problem shitting on me, as I've learned the last couple books. At first, they were a little bit generous. Now they're kind of like, hey, this is stupid, or hey, this sucks. Or they literally will tag something and put LOL, look again. Which actually I do laugh a lot. Because sometimes I'll do like the typical author redundant thing where you state something and then like 2 sentences later you say the same thing but backwards. They always highlight it and LOL, read that back. So it's kind of fun, and I do trust them. Sometimes they very much hate adverbs and ings. One of my editors very much hates them. So sometimes there's some back and forth, and I'll like screenshot the Wheel of Time because Robert Jordan uses like a bajillion adverbs and ing words in a page, like a crazy amount. And they'll be like, "Yeah, but you're not Robert Jordan," and I'll be like, "Oh, that's true, I'm not." So um, I do really respect them. I don't rely on betas anymore because I found it really just not beneficial for me, and it took so much time for me with book one because I was always waiting on betas, and then one person would give me their opinion. I'd be like, "Well, now I want someone else's opinion," and it kind of felt like I got stuck on that train. Going forward, I'd like to find trusted arcs. So book one of Ashes and Embers will be my journey into hopefully finding trustable arc readers. But yeah, I think my process is more like a hermit, and then like, here you go, guys. Hope you like it.
Send it out to the world.
Pretty,
I'm gonna hoard it, and then once it's out, it's out. I mean, I think that makes sense as far as I've had the same kind of experience where you send it out to like a beta and it's like you get one person's vastly different opinion, like they hate something that somebody else loves, and it's like you don't know what to do. It's like, okay, I guess I have to go with what I like then, because it's like I everybody's a little bit different, and if you don't get the right reader, your feedback can be terrible. And
yeah,
then
and I think I've learned even just from reviews and from messages from people that have read book one and stuff. They're like, "Oh, I really love this side character. Oh, I really love this side character," and some people would hate them, or some people would think they're useless, and some people have told me to take some of those parts out. So it's like, man, if I would have listened to this person would have never gotten this experience. So now it's just
yeah,
kind of like you read it and hopefully you like it. And if you don't like it, then well, you don't like it. That's just part of the game, which is a hard part I think to learn, especially when reviews start pouring in or once you are really putting your heart out there. But that's just kind of what to expect. So like you were saying with the beta thing, it's just like too much. It's back and forth and it's just all opinion. So my
exactly.
editor, their opinion matters to me because they're the ones editing my books. Beyond that, the world can say what they want.
I think that makes sense. So tell me about, like, so you have these cool covers with the characters on them. So who does your covers for you?
So I found a guy on Fiverr after hours of research because I'm sure everybody knows I'm super anti AI, generative AI, and everything. I spent hours and hours of research. I messaged so many people, and I got really, really aggravated because I was on Pinterest at first for like months, and every person that I found with anthropomorphic creatures were like, "Oh yeah, I used AI." And it's like, "Oh, okay." So I finally found this guy on Fiverr. He signed a contract. I was like, "Hey, I don't want any AI use." He's like, "None." And I was like, "No." He's like, "It's going to take like 20 times the amount of time." And I was like, "That's fine. I'll wait." He's like, "Okay, I'll do it." So, he signed an agreement that he wouldn't use AI. It did take a long time, which is fine. I'm not worried about it as long as it's done how I want and it's done well. Also, just super, super cool guy, very communicative and I'm very annoying to work with sometimes. So, um, I'm glad that he didn't get annoyed with me and was just like, okay. I found him. He's done, I think, 10 characters. I actually have to go to him to do two more when I'm done my little novella for this series, like a side thing. And he did incredible work. I'm super stoked that I found him and that he agreed with no AI and that he really did a good job bringing my characters to life for the most part. And sometimes I had no idea what I was getting into because I can't draw. So I was like, I tried to do like some sketches and I did some, they took hours, but I did some and I was like, hey, I want something like this. And he took that and he made them way better.
That helps a lot. I've been working. I work with an artist. He makes the little icon. Like, he's done a couple of my covers, but he does like the little icons that I have in my books. And it's like I'll give him an idea. I'll be like, I want a crown of horns. I want like a tent. And the thing that he comes back with is just so much better than anything that I could have had in my head. I was like, it really does. Like, there's a certain artistic mind that I don't think I have access to. Like, I have some degree of visual, like, I know it's appealing, but
I
it's
don't
fun.
possess the visible creation. I do not possess.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I let them. I'm like, hey, I know what color scheme I want. I know what animal I want, and I kind of know what I want them to look like. Past that, and then he'll bring something back and I'll be like, oh, I want this done to this and this done to this. So it's easy when he gives me a base, but when it's nothing, I have no idea. Same thing with my tattoos. I go to my tattoo artist and I'm like, I want something like this. And they're like, yeah, I can do that, but I can give you something way cooler. And I'm like, okay, give me something cooler. You're
I
the artist.
trust you. I like
Yeah.
it cooler. Let's make it cooler.
Exactly. I mean, my last artist was like, I brought him this little thing. He was like, that's kind of lame. He's like, you want me to do something that's going to be original and on your body forever and nobody will have the same thing? And I was like, okay. And he just like did it. So this guy is super cool. He did my creatures justice. I'm super thankful I found him, and fun to work with. So
yeah, that's great. It's good to find somebody to partner with, especially when you have a backlog like you.
yeah, that's why I paid him for like 10 after he did the first 2 and then the next 2. I was like, I have like six or 8 more that I need you to do, and I'll just like pay you for all of them. You can just give them to me as they come. He was like, okay.
Sounds good. Pretty awesome. All right. I think with this, I'm going to give you a chance. I know it's your third book, so I don't know if you want to, if there's a passage or something that you can read from it to give people a sample of what the book contains, if you feel so inclined. You are welcome to decline.
I did not bring it with me, so I will decline. I did finally get a hardcover. I got it the other day. Oh, this is what I wanted to say. If anybody plans on buying the paperback or the hard book, please wait, because I had to fix it tomorrow. I didn't get time to fix it. I received my hardcover late. I received it the day after it. That time period where you can't fix it. Yeah. And I had my document right, but when it got put into Canva or whatever, the software for the cover design, all the spellings alterated back to what? I don't know. Back to what autocorrect thinks they should be. So when I got it, I sent it to my editor and I was like, I don't know which one of us messed up, or my cover designer. I was like, I don't know which one of us messed up, but like all these words are wrong. And he was like, oh no. So sent me back the fixed one. So please wait like 2 days.
It happens. Yep. That's a good thing to note, though, folks. So, ebook for now. Hold off on the ordering of the actual physical copy, unless you want a very unique version. You may want that. You know, I know Russell out there with Relentless. Was it Relent?
I think it was without the T. Relentless Blades.
Relentless Blades. You know,
that's what I'm going to try to sell it as. I have like a big, I don't know, whatever it is, book event in June, and now I have these hardcovers. Luckily, I canceled my paperbacks before they came. Thank God. But I'm going to be like, hey, these hardcovers are like special edition. They'll never exist ever again, hopefully.
Yes, special edition. Error prone.
Yep.
And when I'm famous, it'll all be good.
Exactly.
All right. Well, if you're not going to read, that's fine. But I do want you to have an opportunity to tell people how to follow you, how to find you, what you're all about, how to purchase this book if you're in Australia today, otherwise tomorrow.
You can purchase it on Amazon, and it will be on KU as well, even though I don't get a lot of KU reads, but I still leave them there for those that do. On Twitter, at author T. Robare, Threads, Writing with Wolves 22, Instagram, author T. Robare, TikTok, even though everybody's deleting it, at author T. Robare, and I think I have my website, but I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I always just type in my name.
I know that you have a link tree on your X, so if you're on there, you can definitely find that. I found it, and that's how I found your bio. So,
oh, I forgot I did change that. Yeah, I looked at someone else's link tree, some other authors, and I was like, wow, your link tree is so nice. Mine's a jumbled pile of crap. And I went back and redid it and based it off of his. So yeah, Linktree is the easiest way. You can just go click it.
It's pretty convenient.
It is. I wish I could make it prettier, but then you have to pay for it, and I'm too poor. But the other author paid for it, and his is so nice. Kind of jealous, but
we all have what we have, and we got to work with what we got.
It's true.
All right, guys. So if you have not yet checked out books 1 and 2 of this series, then that would be, I assume, the first place to start here. So go ahead and check that out, and then you can come on the train uh, and support Timothy. He's a lot of fun to follow over on X. I enjoy him, so
Oh,
I'm happy
thank
to
you.
have him. I hope he's had a good time talking
I have.
with me.
I
Uh,
have. Thank you for having me. Also, I love your intro, by the way.
oh, thank you. It's it's fun. It sounded terrible because my Bluetooth was messed up, but I turned it off and on, so that was
Well, it sounded good here. I was watching. I was like, oh, it's so nice.
good. Okay, that's the same one. I thought I saw another comment pop up, but I was wrong. That's okay. Everybody, I hope you have a wonderful Saturday. Um, I'm going to go grocery shopping. That is on my list for after this. Woohoo! I think Timothy, are you going over on AB Timothy's space later?
No, I told him I couldn't because I also have to go grocery shopping. So I I think everybody probably knows this that interviews me or that talks to me in general. I don't ever know what day it is, and I'm a terrible scheduler, which is why I have a giant whiteboard in my kitchen with everything I need to do on a daily basis. 'Cause I'm a scatterbrain maniac. So I forgot that I had an interview today until yesterday when I was looking at my calendar, and I was like, "Oh, that's tomorrow." Um, and AB had already messaged me, and I was like, actually, I already have an interview, so I cannot." But it is going to be fun. I mean, his is. I really wanted to go on and just talk smack to Noah, honestly, but um,
I'm glad you're here and picked me. I appreciate that. Um, but yes, so thank you for coming on. I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. So thanks everybody for tuning in.